Follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOPTV, now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOPTV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOPTV. Now you have more than a voice. In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand.
This is African News on Voice of the People Television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeats, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People Television. Stay with us.
Good evening, Africa. My name is Bamakore, actor, model, producer, and I'm giving a big shout out to VOP TV, man. Keep watching. Don't change the dial. Thank you and God bless you.
My name is AY, and of course, I represent the voice of the people, and that's why I'm on VOP. AY say so.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Miriam Tima from the Real Housewives of Lagos and the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Africa. Shout out to VOP, the voice of the people. You already know. Stay tuned, keep watching. And don't forget, VOP is the best.
All right, hello, everybody. It's a brother shagging the man fine back with Melanie Poppy Black Skin Boy. This is VOP TV. If you're not watching VOP, I don't know why you're watching. Maybe you're watching your weight.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Wale Ojo, and you're watching VOP, Voice of the People.
Hi, guys. You already know who it is. This is new.
Well, hello and welcome to the African News on Voice of the People Television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website. It's www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. We begin the African News from the story where Qatar's foreign ministry says the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Congo will send its first team to monitor a ceasefire between Congo's government and the AFC, that's the M23 rebel group, in the coming days. Qatar, which hosted talks in Doha on Monday, said the team would be deployed to Uvira, a strategic city in eastern Congo that the M23 fighters captured in December during a rapid offensive, and which Congolese forces and allied militias re-entered last month, restoring government's control after the rebels announced they would withdraw. The announcement is a sign of progress in Doha, mediated direct talks between Congo and the AFC M23 rebels, who last year seized more lands than they had ever held before the eastern Congo. The United States is also hosting separate talks between Congo and Rwanda, which the United Nations and Western powers say backs. Western powers backs AFC M23, an allegation Kigali denies. Meanwhile, local authorities have banned the AFC M23 rebel group and neighboring Rwanda for the 8 explosive-laden drone that targeted the airport serving the northeastern Congolese city of Kisangani over the weekend. It's confirmed to be an M23 operation. It would be the 40th West the group has struck as part of its offensive against the government in Kinshasa. The government of Shopo province, where Kisangani is located, said in a statement that the drones attempted to strike Bankoga International Airport between early Saturday and early Sunday, but were shot down before reaching their targets. The escalation has spurred efforts by mediators, including the United States and Qatar, to end the fighting and facilitate Western investment in critical minerals in the eastern DRC. Away from that report, officials and regional experts say the deployment of a powerful model of Turkish combat drone to a remote airstrip on Egypt's southwestern border signals a sharp escalation in Sudan's civil war, suggesting that one of its largest neighbors is being drawn deeper into the fray. Egypt, which shares the Nile River and over 1,200-kilometer frontier with Sudan, has provided staunch political backing to the country's military in its nearly 3-year conflict with the Rapid Support Forces, that's the RSF paramilitary group. However, while Egyptian security officials have separately acknowledged sending logistical and technical support to the Sudanese armed forces until last year, Cairo mostly refrained from direct intervention in the fighting that has killed tens of thousands of people, displaced millions, and spread famine across the vast country. Cairo's position towards the conflict started to change when the RSF made a series of advances in Sudan's western Darfur region, first capturing a strategic northwestern triangle between Egypt and Libya in June, and then overturning the Sudanese military's last foothold in Darfur, the city of Al-Fashar, in October. Moving on, Sudanese army appears to be regaining momentum in its nearly 3-year war against the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, as shifting regional alliance and increased military backing tilts the balance on the battlefield. According to Sudanese analyst and journalist Aid Mosham, the developments in Yemen, alongside growing political and military support for Sudan's army, have helped in regaining momentum in recent months. Husham added that diplomatic visits by Sudan's leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan to other regional capitals have also strengthened the army's position, predicting that the Sudanese armed forces will have the upper hand in the ongoing conflict. Last year, the Sudanese armed forces said it ended a nearly 2-year siege imposed by the RSF on the city of Dilling in South Kordofan, with the military saying it had inflicted heavy losses in personnel and equipment. In recent days, fighting between the two sides has intensified, especially across Sudan's 3 Kordofan states, where the army says it had made advances. Moving on, the Guinea-Bissau junta has vowed to bring the revolutionary Piagui party into government and has released its leader, former Prime Minister Domingos Pereira, though he remains under house arrest. The move by the junta, which seized power last month in a military coup, are considered an attempt to appease the West African regional bloc, ECOWAS, which has suspended the country and demanded a quick transition to civilian rule. Army officers in Guinea-Bissau, branding themselves the military high command, toppled President Umaru Embalo on November the 26th and installed Major General Hota Nta as interim president the following day. However, in a letter to ECOWAS and distributed to newsmen, Nta announced plans to form an inclusive transitional government that would allocate 3 ministerial portfolios to the PRC or African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, amongst others. And in Zimbabwe, an academic, Professor Gift Mugano, has sparked a public debate with his claims that Zimbabwean professors who complain of poverty and blame the ruling ZANU-PF party are not genuine academics. A University of Zimbabwe professor had said that they were struggling on a daily basis due to poverty caused by ZANU-PF. However, Mugano said a professor in the university should be capable of generating income for both himself and the university. His remarks have divided opinions on social media, with some accusing him of being dismissive of the harsh economic realities facing academics in Zimbabwe. Among those who supported Mugano, ZANU-PF social media activist Kudzai Mutisi stated on X that a professor is meant to be an authority in his field, respected beyond national borders and capable of attracting substantial. However, pushbacks came from others who argued that professors are not entrepreneurs and should not be judged primarily on their ability to generate income. And from Zimbabwe, we move straight to Kenya, where the family of General Kimbati wa Njora and Kenyans are mourning the passing of the man widely recognized for his contribution to the country's independence during the colonial period. General Njora was the last standing of the 12 Mau Mau generals who fought against the British colonial rule in the years leading to the country's independence in 1963. He reportedly died of old age at his Cullen home in Nyandaura, leading Kenyans in celebrating his life in spite of the government's alleged failure to recognize his contribution was Governor Mutahi Kahiga. According to Kahiga, it is worthy of celebrating his life, his heroism, but most of all, his sacrifice for the country's freedom. He prayed that his soul would find company in the presence and heroic company of the legends who left before him. He further thanked his family for birthing forth the country such a gallant warrior. Moving on, the group Amsterdam and Partners LLP says it has submitted a formal dossier to the Commonwealth Secretariat requesting urgent referral of Uganda to the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group, that's a CMAG, for serious and persistent violations of the Harare Commonwealth Declaration and the Commonwealth Charter. A long-standing International Council of Ugandan opposition leader Bobby Wine, Amsterdam and Partners LLP, said the Ugandan government's action have warranted an indefinite suspension from the organization. Among the breaches, it noted that Uganda's January 15, 2026 election and its aftermath have been marked by mass arrest, lethal force against civilians, restrictions on communications, and systemic repression of opposition activities under President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. According to the group, these actions fundamentally bridge Uganda's constitutional obligations and commitments as a member of the Commonwealth and International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. It further stated that of particular concerns where the explicit public threats made against Wine by the president's son and chief of defense forces of the Ugandan People's Defense Force, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. In another development, and still in Uganda, Ugandan court has dropped a case against the first man in the country to be charged with aggravated homosexuality, which carries the death penalty under an anti-gay law. His lawyers, Douglas Mawadri, said the then 20-year-old man from Soroti in northeastern Uganda spent nearly a year on remand after he was detained in August 2023 and charged with aggravated homosexuality. He was accused of unlawful sexual intercourse with a 41-year-old man. The East African country enacted the Anti-Homosexuality Act in 2023, defying pressures from Western governments as well as local and international rights groups. Described as one of the world's harshest laws targeting the LGBT community, it carries a sentence of life in prison for same-sex intercourse and imposes the death penalty in cases deemed aggravated. That categorization includes repeated offenses, gay sex that transmits terminal illness, or same-sex intercourse with a minor, an elderly person, or person with disability. And in Ethiopia, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has denied claims by United States President Donald Trump that Washington funded construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Addressing the House of People's Representative, Abiy said the country did not receive a single penny from any foreign government to finance the dam, adding that it was built solely with Ethiopia's own resources, including years of public fundraising campaigns. The dam, built on the Blue Nile near the Sudan border, is Africa's largest hydropower project and has been a source of tension with downstream concerns about its impact on water flows. Abiy also said Ethiopia was finalizing another major hydropower project on the Omo River with an installed capacity of 2,200 megawatts and expected annual production of 6,460 gigawatts hours. Trump had in January questioned why the U.S. would have financed the dam, a claim that Ethiopian officials have repeatedly rejected. Just to watch in the African news right here on Voice of the People television. We'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more in the studios with us is Barrister Darlington Agumo. Barrister Darlington is a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria and also a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you and thanks for joining the conversation.
Good afternoon, David, and how are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing as well, Barrister?
I'm okay.
All right, then let's also joining us virtually, all the way from Uganda, is Barrister Edward Okwaro Omatakeye. Barrister Edward is a human rights activist, a legal practitioner also in Uganda, and also a business associate as well. Barrister Edward, a very good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining the conversation this afternoon.
Very good afternoon to you. Sorry, my network is a bit weak.
We'll try to accommodate it as well. Thank you so very much for joining. Also joining us from Zimbabwe, and I believe he is in the UK, is Dr. Masimba Mavasa. Dr. Masimba is a media consultant and also a barrister in Zimbabwe. I understand Dr. Masimba has not joined the conversation and we'll be expecting him to join in the course of the program. Also joining us all the way from Kenya is a cleric and of course a Nairobi politician. I'm talking about Honorable Mercy Ngota. I also understand Honorable Mercy hasn't joined the conversation yet, but we're expecting these two individuals to join the conversation as we progress. All right, then, let's start this conversation from Uganda, where Barrister Edward is already with us. Barrister, the claim by Ethiopia clearly stating that no single foreign powers also contributed in the construction of the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. What's your position with these? Because you would recall President Donald Trump had last year said that the United States also funded the construction of that dam. What's your position with this, Barrister Edward?
Very good afternoon again, David and Senior Counsel Lagumo. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm sorry my network might be disappointing. I'll try, if it goes off kindly, just know that we have still problems with our internet issues at home. So going to Ethiopia, those are negations which are probably can be proven by the same people within the same nation, because Trump took probably he can't come up from blues. It must be something which is actually directing that there was some kind of funding on the same project. So I don't want to dwell a lot on issues of Ethiopia and the US, whatever contracts they had, that I may not be having much to discuss with concerning it. Thank you.
We bring this conversation to the studio. Barrister, interestingly, as it stands, the president, I'm talking about Abiy Ahmed, while addressing the House of People's foreign powers investing in that construction of the dam.
Is he trying to tell me that America have not invested in Ethiopia?
Particularly on the construction of that dam.
David, when funds are being sourced and you obtain those funds, it is now left for you to allocate funds according to your need. That is what happens in most African states. Now, it is a challenge for Donald Trump because that dam predates Donald Trump's presidency. So the bureaucrats at Washington may have included it in part of their African assistance and all that. It is not left for Donald Trump to specifically mention how much America invested in the dam.
Okay.
Or not. Maybe challenge the Ethiopian president on what he said, so that future assistance may not be denied.
Now, Barrister, some have said, really, that this statement by the president, Prime Minister, I'm talking about Abiy Ahmed, is more like designed to strengthen its bargaining position against Egypt and Sudan. Now, you would recall that there's been conversations across these particular two countries on the usage of this dam and what it does to the economy.
It doesn't matter as long as Ethiopia built it. Even if they sourced the fund from US gave them the money, but not Egypt or Sudan. So what is the thing is that yes, the dam is the most powerful one in Africa so far, but it is serving a purpose. It's serving a purpose. Those countries cannot deny it. They cannot deny it. It's serving a very big purpose. So if they don't want it, they would have as well told Ethiopia, we don't, that it is obstructing a free flow of water, which I doubt. Which I doubt. So if the need for the dam overrides the disadvantage, why not if not? No. And I even heard that they are constructing another one somewhere.
So that is going to go as far as 6,460 gigawatts hours.
So what are you telling me here?
Now, Barrister, let's talk about the economic impact in all of this, really. As it stands, yes, Ethiopia is claiming sole financing of the construction of this dam. And they, on the other hand, are still relying on foreign aid in other sectors. Would these statements by the Prime Minister have a major impact as concerning aids that are coming in on the part of maybe the US and some other Western powers, who again are saying that they also have an impact in the construction of this dam?
That is what I just told you here. You know, when a country or a president wants to be economical with the truth, there's a way they coin it. If the Ethiopian president should tell me how much that dam costs, if he should open his mouth and tell the whole world how much they spent in constructing that dam, I will now say yes, it is possible for them to finance it, and I'll say no, they cannot carry the burden, the financial burden. That's just the truth. Let him mention how much they spent on the dam. Then I will tell you that Ethiopia does not have the financial muscle to carry it. That's the truth.
Interestingly, some critics also argue that Ethiopia is exaggerating its self-reliance because the diaspora bond underperformed in, of course, the economy has ended last month. So with all of that, there was just no way that Ethiopia would have self-funded that dam, according to some other critics who are arguing that conversation. Anyways, let's take this conversation back to Uganda. Well, interestingly, Barrister, there's a particular situation, and I'm coming to you because, yes, you're a lawyer in Uganda. The Ugandan court drops the homosexuality case against a particular man. They call it the first man in the country to be charged with aggravated homosexuality, which carries the death penalty under the anti-gay law. Again, as at the time that this crime was committed, he was 20 years of age, committing the crime with a 41-year-old man. Looking at this kind of judgment, do you think in any way this particular anti-gay law is gaining momentum? And is there some level of deterrent of the people that, are involved in this kind of relationship?
First of all, you need to ask yourself the question, why drop the case after all that time, which I believe this person would have been charged in court. He has been just under so-called remand for beyond even the stipulated time required by the Constitution of Uganda. So some of these things, David, are related to political gains and also trying to actually sell a vote that you are really trying to practice what you declared as homosexual. Uganda is still experiencing the same thing. Uganda is still a mixture of different kind of people. It accommodates so many Africans, so many internationals. So the same activity is still going on, but being a person whom they call the first, actually now coming from actually the place where I come from, without a proper statement that the reasons why this case has been dropped probably should be put in a public domain, is because the government has failed. It has failed to implement the anti-sexual law. It has relaxed, probably because they have already achieved what they wanted. This was just meant to probably appear on the public media. Right. So I believe there is nothing implemented mostly in the homosexuality in Uganda, because we still have cases which are continuing just like any other country.
All right, then. Let me still move from a particular case to another case where the group, Amsterdam and Partners, LLP, has said that it has submitted a formal dossier to the Commonwealth Secretariat requesting urgent referral of Uganda to the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group for serious and persistent violations of the Harare Commonwealth Declaration and the Commonwealth Charter, which again, Uganda is a part of. because the long-standing international counsel to Ugandan opposition leader, I'm talking about Bobby Wine, and of course Amsterdam and partners, said the Ugandan government's action have warranted an indefinite suspension from the organization. What's your position with these, Barrister Edward? These kind of, well, I call it post-election actions on the part of the law internationally.
Yes, even as we talk, leave alone what Amsterdam is actually the rest of the Democrats, I could say, who are willing to help Uganda gain their democracy. As we talk, there is a case already in court concerning the same elections. I was actually following the same case closely, where the Electoral Commission has totally failed to account this election. But obviously, at the end of the day, since the judiciary is also a captured state, a captured Uganda, you have recently the president appointing the chief justice to actually, for the purposes of actually this kind of issues. So, Uganda being a member in some of these associations in the world, it should be punished. Should be, you enter in an agreement, an association, right, with the purpose of achieving the goals which are actually meant for that association. So if this is what Uganda is going to face, the people of Uganda will be happy. We don't mind losing for a shortest time, but gain much by removing a person who's actually addressing the country in the public in a bad way.
All right, then. Let me bring this conversation to the studio. Well, I understand that, yes, Barrister Edward is having a bit of internet issues because, again, like he did say, the internet in Uganda is just coming back gradually. Barrister, right here in Nigeria, conversations are being raised about the post-election violence that was experienced in Uganda. But with this petition by this company, this law firm, if Uganda is suspended from the Commonwealth, does this mark the beginning of Museveni's international isolation after nearly 4 decades in power?
Of course, it will help. Not just this Amsterdam law firm. The Commonwealth governments and other international Western allies, they should impose a heavy sanction on Museveni. Maybe that will help other dictators who are planning to do the same thing to be wary. I have always said it that, look, if there is no discipline, people will run riot with power. If there is no discipline, people will run riot with power. So let the Western allies toe the same line in bringing discipline upon these African leaders who don't want to conduct a free and fair election. They should impose heavy sanctions on them. In fact, make them persona non grata to their countries whenever they win such election and start traveling all over the place. They should tell them not to come to their country because they do not recognize them as the leader they claim to be. That will help a lot. Seriously, it will help.
Now, Barrister, you usually use a particular sentence: the society prepares the crime and the people commits the crime. Now, with these kind of sentence, Barrister, the statements and the threats of the military chief, I'm talking about the son of the president, General Mahuzi, his threats against the opposition leader, I'm talking about Bobby Wine, is this proof that Uganda clearly is sliding into a military dynasty, which the people are not trying to kick against, as it were?
They are already there. It has become a family matter now. Uganda as a country has been conscripted into the Museveni clan, Museveni dynasty. Can't you see it? The father have taught the son how to be tough, how to talk tough. And the guy has learned in a very, quick manner. He's not even taking prisoners here. And you remember when he told that even if he kill Bobby Wine, nothing will happen. So what do you expect? His father is in power. So he's learning the rope. But I will advise him to be wary. I will advise him to be wary.
Why so?
Because of Idi Amin. Let him look at the story of Idi Amin. I don't even think himself and his power and his father, they came close to what Idi Amin did in Uganda. They have not even started when you want to compare notes. But at the end of the day, what happened? At the end of the day, what happened? Such dictators, they end up in infamy. They end up in a miserable manner. The man even died abroad. I mean, Idi Amin. So is that a plus? Is that a compliment? They should be very wary. This is drunk with power. It will not go far. It's a matter of time.
All right, then. Let's take this conversation.
Because Museveni is already on the departure launch. The son should be very wary.
Right,
because then Uganda may not tolerate from him what they tolerated from the father.
All right, then let me take this conversation back to Uganda. Barrister Edward, same question really. If Uganda is suspended from the Commonwealth, does this mark the beginning of the end for Museveni and, of course, his leadership and his hold in Uganda? Plus, following what Barrister said now, the son of the president, who is the military chief, clearly has made several threats that even the UN have been very concerned about. Do you think at this point they also should be wary because, like Barrister did say, the likes of Idi Amin is an example to look after?
Yes, the council is actually giving a very good statement. And when you look at the comparison between what we are seeing currently in Uganda, it is what actually happened during the Amin's regime. You remember when Amin ordered the Indians to actually vacate Uganda. These were all the dictatorship, which right now happening that you shouldn't stand in Uganda in the position of a president. It should be a position which is meant for only one person, which is you stand, you become a criminal, just like the way the Bob Wine has been not accused from anywhere for any crime, but just because he himself president to come and see whether it can actually also convince the public of Uganda to vote him. So indeed, Uganda is ruled by the family. Uganda has been captured by the military, which Museveni actually created by himself. So it's going to be very successful if the Commonwealth succeeds in sanctioning Uganda. It will be actually a positive side for the people.
Well, I'm hoping that your network would do some justice in the next question, because I still want to stay with you. Interestingly, you mentioned about the economy of Uganda, but again, we hear that investors are quietly leaving the country because they cannot sustain the pressure at which the military is given right now on the economy. Looking at these kind of situations, is the Ugandan economy paying the hidden price of repression as orchestrated by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and his son, who is the military chief? I'm talking about General Mahuzi in the country.
You know, trade nation always you look at the situation of economy growth. So you get that a country which has failed democratically, there are issues of stagnancy. And now in this case, because President Yoweri Museveni and his son decided to say they have already harvested and they want to occupy this nation, it's the reason why you see even the investors, you have heard recently the son accusing the partners, that is now the U.S. embassy, which is very wrong, because if you start accusing your own partners in business, then it becomes dangerous for the growth of that nation. So I believe we are actually in a very sloppy kind of a situation, which is going to reduce the growth and the development of Uganda. In fact, adding to the work Museveni has given for the last 40 years plus, right now we are going to the worst part of it, and we pray that the internationals may come and help this situation to actually be resolved quickly.
All right, then before I let you go, and of course I'll come to the studio and we'll wrap this conversation up. Interestingly, the UN is planning to deploy some monitoring mission to Congo in the case of the ceasefire. Well, again, like you know, that the peacekeeping mission in Congo will send its first team to monitor a ceasefire between the Congo's government and the M23 rebel group in the coming days. But there are concerns because the meeting in Qatar that had to do with the Congolese government and, of course, the Rwandan government seem to have, gotten headways when it comes to the part of security in the DRC. But then again, looking at the fact that the UN again is thinking of sending monitoring team to that eastern part of the DRC, should this team be deployed? And of course, we're looking at a team that will be going to Uvira, a city that was captured by the M23 fighters in December. Of course, during this offensive, some Congolese forces and allied militias somehow were killed in that mix. Would these mark the beginning of some relative peace in the eastern DRC, Barrister Edward?
Yes, I think it is in order. Where there is no goodwill, I think it's always good to allow the partners to come and see whether they can actually make us get some peace. What we are looking at is the security of the people surrounded in that place. Today, I was seeing His Excellency, the retired President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, was actually visiting Uganda. And I really pitied these leaders. You cannot go and consult the security of Africa with people who are failed democratically. So Africa, we are still sick. We are still totally behind. So I think the UN should actually continue doing what is necessary to get us from this kind of a mess, from this kind of leaders who don't actually even don't offer any kind of solution. UN means African Union is totally redundant. There's nothing you can hear from African Union, but you can hear UN is totally concerned about our securities as Africans. So kindly, I think I support such a move.
I like the fact that you mentioned the part of the African Union, and because I know that on this table we've had conversations about the African Union and their strength when it comes to resolving conflicts and some of these situations that we've found in Africa. Barrister, let me come to you. And of course, I possibly would have the two of you on this now. The African Union on this part, African problem not having African solution. Have the institution of the African Union become so toothless that it has to take conversation in Doha for the M23 to give in to what they've been doing over time in the DRC. Now, we know this is clearly about the mineral resources in the DRC, but is the DRC clearly not believing that African Union as a group can have a solution to African problems?
African Union is a toothless bulldog. There is little or nothing they can do to checkmate the excesses of all the rebel groups in Africa. They don't have a standing army. They don't have the finances. They don't even have the personnel to, monitor what is going on. And so they are hamstrung. That is just the simple reason here. And that's why this rebel group and all the terrorists, they are having a free reign because they know that there is no institution that can checkmate them. Like you have NATO in America.
Right.
So you can see where we are. And I've been saying it here that unless African Union form what America did with NATO, because of this, these excesses, these guys may wake up one day and overrun Africa.
But then again, Barrister, some have said that if the part of having a joint force to that level would be okay, but the part of funding is another. Wouldn't the country who has more funding have more superior hand when it comes to...
naturally, like America is at the head of NATO.
Yes.
So somebody must be at the head of everything now, so that there will be semblance of stability and leadership. Somebody must fund it. That's why I still blame Nigeria. With your so-called giant of Africa, you are not doing anything gigantic. Nothing. Even smaller countries are riding roughshod over Nigeria. So your so-called giant of Africa is just on paper. In reality, you are not doing anything. If Nigeria were to take its rightful position, I don't think any rebel group, any terrorist will mess up in Africa.
Barrister, are we seeing weak institutions as against groups that have become more powerful than the institution itself? Because not just AU is a victim of these circumstances that we're talking about. ECOWAS is another, because you would recall the Sahelian states also have given up on ECOWAS. Are we seeing weak institutions?
It's not just these two institutions you mentioned. Even in the East African development, whatever.
Yes.
Is that not where the RC came from? What are they doing about this M23 rebel? I have always opposed any peace deal with these two M23 rebels, because I didn't see the need. Why will I sit on the table to discuss peace of my country with a rebel group that came from another country? I mean, does it make sense? On what ground are we making such a peace? If it is an internal disagreement between the country leadership and maybe a splinter group that want to break away, we can be talking about that. But this is a completely terrorist group from another country funded by Rwanda. And they are now in my country disturbing me. And you said I should sit down and be talking peace with them. Look at it yourself now. Does it make sense? Even if they succeed in what they want to do, can they form a government? Will they be recognized? On what ground? You see, so I can blame UN here, trying to broker peace or monitor peace.
All right, then.
They should empower the DRC Congo government to deal with these guys, like Sudan is trying to do with RSF.
Yes.
Yes. Don't sit for peace with them. They will never accept it, because if you appease them here, they will move to the next country. That is how they are making inroads.
And they keep getting ground.
In this other country that is close to them there. What's it called? What's the name of that country? What's the name of the other country?
Somalia?
No, it's not Somalia. The country close to them where they made a peace with the DRC Congo. That particular country now, they have already made inroads there. I think Donald Trump was the one that brokered that peace or something.
Right.
So they were ready to take all these smaller countries around, because they have already succeeded with DRC Congo, and so they have become bolder.
All right, then, Barrister, because of time, really, I would want us to wrap up this conversation, because we're really pressed for time. In just one sentence, Barrister, the Guinea-Bissau opposition, I beg your pardon, junta leader have released the opposition leader, and of course is planning an inclusive government with the opposition leader, of course, with also Mbalo, who is presently on exile. One sentence.
It is good if they want to run an inclusive government. After all, it's a democracy. Whichever way it came, it's a democracy. So we welcome it. Maybe things will start looking up now.
All right, then.
Since Africa said they don't need a military regime and all that.
All
so
right,
let's see how it pans out.
Thank you so very much, Barrister. Barrister Edward, thank you so very much for joining this conversation. But maybe in one sentence, your position as well. Guinea-Bissau's opposition, junta leader saying there will be inclusive government, of course, after he gives in power to these opposition figures and the leaders that have been in exile.
Just in a short, to just recap or put on what Senior Counsel has said on DRC to Congo is that Rwanda, you remember when Kagame tried to, but he still insisted and said he cannot actually go ahead with the an agreement. Just recently made very bad statements. So I believe there must be a solution for Africa. We need leaders. So joining hands, opposition and the government, it's welcomed, which is good. It's a good spirit to see that governments should always sit down with opposition.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Barrister Edward Okwaro Matakinye, human rights activist, legal practitioner, and also a business associate in Uganda. Thank you so very much for your time. Also, thank you so very much, Barrister Darlington Agogo, legal practitioner in Nigeria, and also public and political affairs analyst. Barrister, thank you so very much for being here.
No pleasure.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, African business stories and sports will be out next. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back. It's still the African news right here on Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. Reports in Morocco says that the country has evacuated over 50,000 persons, nearly half of the population of the northwestern city of Qasr El Kabir, as flooding driven by weeks of heavy rain threatened to inundate the city. According to a local resident, Hisham Ashtu, the city has become a ghost town with all markets and shops closed, and most residents have either left voluntarily or been evacuated. Authorities set up shelters and temporary camps and barred entry into Qasr El Kabri as rising water levels in the Kusuk River spread across several neighborhoods. Only departures from the city were permitted while electricity was cut in parts of it, and schools ordered to remain closed until Saturday. Officials say that the floods were partly triggered by water released by the nearby Kud Maxhazen Dam, which had reached full capacity. And from that story, we move straight to talking business, where chairman of Libya's National Oil Corporation, Masoud Suleiman, has disclosed the country's plan to boost its natural gas production in the next 5 years to have more supply available for export to Europe by early 2030. Suleiman told delegates at the LNG 2026 conference in Qatar that the country plans to increase gas production to nearly 1 billion standard cubic feet per day and start drilling for shale gas in the second half of this year. He added that Libya has 80 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve split between conventional and unconventional resources, adding that the country is currently exporting a negligible volume of natural gas via the Green Stream pipeline. And to wrap up the African news, we go straight talking sports. Hannah Moom has scooped the Man of the Match award following an impressive performance against Maruno Gallants FC in the Betway South African Premiership March Week 16. The 30-year-old Namibian left-back, who had been named Amazulu FC's captain for the 2025-2026 season, has been enjoying a strong campaign under head coach Arthur Zwane. Amazulu sit fourth on the league table with 30 points, just 2 points behind leaders Mamelodi Sundowns, who top the standings with 32 points and a superior goal differences over second place Orlando Pirates in 32 points, while Kaizer Chiefs occupy third place, also on 30 points, but put ahead of Amazulu on goal difference. Hanamub assisted the game's only goal in the 72nd minute, delivering the pinpoint cross that was met by second-half substitute Mondi Mbanjewa, who powered home a bullet header. Hanamub was the only player in the match to record 100% pass accuracy on 18-18 and was heavily involved in attack, creating 3 chances in the game, which was the highest. With that sports story, we've come to the end of African news right here on Voice of the People television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we're at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOPTV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of faith.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment